ओम सदाशिवसमारम्भां
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
Tanmay, are you there?
Yes, Acharya, I'm here.
Tanmay, would you like to stand the first six?
Sure. This
Somebody all right. Tanmay will lead the first 6 verses, so let us chant together.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha.
Om Shri
Paramatmane Namaha.
Atha Atmabodhaha.
Atha Atmabodhaha.
Tapobhih kshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam.
Tapobhih kshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam.
Mumukshunam apekshyo yam atmabodho vidhiyate.
Mumukshunam apekshyo yam atmabodho vidhiyate.
Bodhonya sadhanebhyo hi sakshan mokshaika sadhanam.
Bodhonya sadhanebhyo hi sakshan mokshaika sadhanam.
Akasya vahnivajnanam vina moksho na siddhyati.
Akasya vahnivajnanam vina moksho na siddhyate.
Avirodhitaya karma na vidyam vinivartaye.
Avirodhitaya karma na vidyam vinivartaye.
Vidya vidyannihantyeva tejastimira sangavat.
Vidya vidyannihantyeva tejastimira sangavat.
Parichinna iva jnanat tannashe sati kevalaha.
Parichinna iva jnanat tannashe sati kevalaha.
Swayam prakashate hyatma megha payim shumaniva.
Swayam prakashate hyatma megha payim shumaniva.
Ajnana kalushan jivam jnanabhyasad vinirmalam.
Ajnana kalushan jivam jnanabhyasad vinirmalam.
Kritva jnanam swayam nashyet jalang katakarenuvat. Samsara swapnatulyo hi ragadveshadi sankulaha.
Samsara swapnatulyo hi
रागद्वेषादिसङ्कुलः
स्वकाले सत्यवद् भाति प्रबोधे सत्यसद्भवे
स्वकाले
स्वकाले
सत्यवद्भाति
सत्यवद्भाति
प्रबोधे
प्रबोधे
सत्यसद्भवेत्.
सत्यसद्भवेत्.
Thank you, Tanmay.
Thank you,
Very
Acharya.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had done the first 3 verses in the last class, and I hope you remember them. So there was some little conceptual, gusti was there, conceptual wrestling was there. So we need to remember all that. Now we look at the 4th verse. He says, Parichinna iva jnanat. So that is Parichinna iva ajnanat. Tat nashe sati kevalaha. Swayam prakashate hi atma. Megha payem amshumaniva. So in the previous slokas, if you remember, Shankaracharya had said, one second, I just mute everybody. I request you all not to unmute yourself unless you're talking. In the previous sloka, Shankaracharya had said that karma cannot give moksha. There is no way that karma can give moksha because karma cannot remove ajnanam, cannot remove ignorance. And jnanam can give moksha because jnanam is directly opposed to ajnanam. Knowledge is directly opposed to ignorance, and therefore knowledge can remove ignorance. So the question might come, why do we say that ignorance, ajnanam, has to be removed to get moksha? That is because ajnanam is the cause of samsara. The very root cause of samsara is ignorance, and that is being made clear in this verse. He says parichinnaha. Parichinna is limited. So parichinna, here you have to understand it's my feeling, my idea that I am parichinna, that I am finite, that I am limited. What is it due to? Iva ajnana. So ajnana iva is due to ignorance alone. That iva is very important. That sense of limitation which I am feeling, which has been my constant companion since birth, that is due to ignorance alone. And tannashe. So tannashe, you can split tat nashe. Tat refers to ajnanam, ignorance. Tannashe. So tat nashe. Tannashe means tat nashe. Ajnana nashe. Sati means when. So tat nashe sati. When that ignorance is destroyed, Atma Kevalaha, that non-dual Atma, Kevala Atma means only that Atma, but the only here is to be taken as with no other. And therefore that non-dual, that Advaita Atma, Swayam Prakashatehi, will indeed shine by itself. So when Ajnanam is destroyed, the Atma will reveal itself, it will shine by itself. And he gives an example. Anshumaniva, as the sun reveals itself when Megha apaye, when the cloud goes away. So he's pointing out that samsara is a sense of limitation. And a sense of limitation cannot be removed by any other method. Excepting what? The removal of the cause for the sense of limitation, which is ajnanam itself. So if you are poor, you are not going to get rich by going and seeing a rich man, right? And if I am ajnani, I am not going to become a jnani by simply going and getting a darshan of a jnani. My sense of limitation will not go away unless somebody teaches me that it is a false superimposition. So someone has to remove that sense of apurnatvam by teaching me that apurnatvam is adhyasa. It's a false idea which I have about me. And therefore he says parichinna eva. The eva is very important. Eva means as if over here. Apparently so. Not really so. So parichinna eva. Because of ajnanam alone, parichinna eva, it appears that I am finite. And this parichinna, this finite status, is the cause of all sorrow. And sorrow alone is samsara. So parichinna eva is the cause of dukkham. Dukkham alone is samsara. And to remove this samsara, therefore, I have to follow this chain. If I have to remove samsara, I have to remove dukkham, sorrow. If I have to remove dukkham, I have to remove this parichinna status, the apurnatvam status of mind. If I have to remove the parichinna status, I have to remove the cause, which is ajnanam. And therefore, Shankara says, Atato Brahma Jignasa. A study of Brahman has to be undertaken. Therefore, moksha is nothing but freedom from this sense of limitation. Moksha is not any mysterious state. It is not going to some other loka. It is not changing the physical body. In moksha, there are no mystical experiences. There are no flashing lights. There are no bulbs. There are no bells. There are no basuris. What is moksha? Moksha is simply, I don't miss anything in life. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy everything. I enjoy everything when it is there. But if it is not there, I don't miss it. I am not miserable. My mind is not disturbed whether the objects of enjoyment are there or not there. And that includes people. Whether the people I love are there or not there, I don't miss them if they are not there. When they are there, I enjoy the company. And this is the condition of purnatvam, the condition of fullness. And if I enjoy this condition, then I can safely say that I am Jivan Mukta. I am a person who is free of samsara. So a mukta is not an abnormal person. Okay, Jivan Mukta will also eat. He will also go to the bathroom or to the toilet. He will also sleep. He is not a mystic. There is no halo behind his head. He cannot float or fly or become big or become small. He is a normal person. The only difference is that when this Jivan Mukta looks at himself, he sees himself as complete. He doesn't require anyone else to complete him. And therefore, he doesn't miss anybody. If people are around him, if family is around him, friends are around him, he will enjoy their company. If they go away, he will not miss them. So if you can be with things and be without things, without a sense of missing something, then you are liberated. Then you have moksha. So moksha is nothing but removal of this parichinna status. And so he says, once this parichinna status goes away, what happens? Again, somebody has, Induji, can you please mute your mic? Okay. So when ajnanam has gone away, what happened? Swayam prakashate hi atma. The atma shines forth. Like what? Megha apaye amshuman iva. Just like the sun appears to reveal itself when the clouds go away. So here again, iva is important. There is no revelation really. I mean, it's not that Atma reveals himself. Atma is self-revealing. The sun is self-revealing. It doesn't need to reveal itself. All that is required is that the obstruction between the sun and my line of sight should go away. And here the obstruction is megha, the clouds. Megha apaye, when the clouds go away, the sun as if reveals itself. I am able to see the sun. Okay. So let us go back to the discussion in the last class on Swarupa Jnanam and Vritti Jnanam. Right? We talked about in reference to the pot, the gata. What was the function of Swarupa Jnanam? It was to illuminate the pot. What was the function of Vritti Jnanam? It is to destroy ignorance about the pot. Right? So a normal process of knowledge has these two functions, the primary and the secondary function. The Swarupa Jnanam, awareness principle, it illuminates the object, and the Vritti Jnanam, the object thought, it destroys ignorance about the pot. But in this case, what is the problem? As far as Atma is concerned, it doesn't need to be illuminated. Why? Atma is Swayam Prakashaha. It is self-effulgent. It is self-revealing. There is no necessity for Swarupa Jnanam to reveal anything because Atma is Swarupa Jnanam itself. It cannot reveal itself. It is already revealed. It is self-illuminating. That Atma is always known, always revealed. So that is a difficulty. How then do I apply that principle where Vritti Jnanam destroys ignorance about the object and Swarupa Jnanam illuminates the object? But here, what happens? The Atma Vritti Jnanam. Vritti Jnanam about the Atma. Right? There it was Ghata Vritti Jnanam. Here it is Atma Vritti Jnanam, which we otherwise call Aham Brahmasmi Vritti. It destroys the Ajnanam. The Vritti is necessary. The Aham Brahmasmi Vritti is necessary because it destroys the ignorance by telling me that I am Brahman. And this Vritti Jnanam takes place where? In the mind or in the Atma? It takes place in the mind, not in the Atma, because Atma is Nirvikara. Atma is changeless. There cannot be a Vritti in Atma, because Vritti means there's a change, there's a movement. The very word Vritti comes from the Dhatu Vru, which means to move. And Vritti is basically taken as a movement in the Chitta. Those of you remember Yoga Sutras. Vritti is a movement in the Chitta. That is why he says Chitta Vritti Nirodha. That movement is required to be stopped for yoga from the point of view of Patanjali. So, in the Atma, Atma is all-pervading. It is changeless. It is Nirvikara. There can be no Vritti at all. And therefore, Aham Brahmasmi Vritti is for what purpose? Ajnanam Nashartham. For the purpose of destroying the ignorance about the Brahma, about the fact that I am Brahman. So, Aham Brahmasmi Vritti destroys the ignorance that I am something other than Brahman. That I am the body, mind, sense complex, that I am the mind, that I am the intellect. It destroys that. But it is not for the purpose of revealing Brahman. Remember that. Aham Brahmasmi Vritti, which is the Vritti generated by Shastram. Shastram's job is not to reveal Brahman. Shastram's job is to destroy the ignorance about Brahman, about the fact that I am Brahman. And therefore he says, Megha apaye amshumaniva. The clouds are removed. And then the sun shines, as if shines. Clouds are removed by what? The wind. What is the wind which removes the Ajnanam here? The Aham Brahmasmi Vritti. That is the wind which removes the Ajnanam. Okay. We look at one more verse. The next one. So it's Ajnana Kalusham Jivam Jnana Abhyasad Vinirmalam Kritva Jnanam Swayam Nashit Jalam Kataka Renuvat. So Ajnana Kalusham. Kalusham is an impurity. So Ajnana Kalusham, tainted by or made impure by Ajnana. Who? Jivam. So Ajnana Kalusham is an adjective to Jiva. Jiva is Jivatma. Jivam is the Jivatma. That Jivatma who is tainted by Ajnana Kalusham, or impurity of Ajnanam. What happens to him? Jnana Abhyasat Vinirmalam. Vinirmalam is free of malam, free of his impurities. Jnana Abhyasat. Because of the study of Vedanta, Jnana Abhyasa, he becomes Vinirmalam. He becomes purified by Jnana Abhyasa. And Kritva, having done that. Now, what is it that purifies? When he says Jnana Abhyasa Vinirmalam, what is it that purifies you? What exactly is it that purifies? Anybody?
The removal of
Self-knowledge.
ignorance or the identification with mind and body.
Removal of ignorance is fine, but what remove? What? That's what I'm saying. Removal of ignorance is the kalmasham. It is the impurity. What is it that removes the impurity?
Jnanam.
Jnanam.
What do you mean by jnanam?
Nididhyasana.
The concept, wrong concept, I mean, purification of the wrong concept.
No.
Aham Brahmasmi Vritti.
Aham Brahmasmi Vritti. Okay, Aham Brahmasmi Vritti is that cleansing agent. It is a detergent which is cleaning up your Ajnanam. So Kritva here means having done its job. What does the job? Aham Brahmasmi Vrittihi. Having done the job of purification of this Jivatma, Jnanam Swayam Nasyet. That Aham Brahmasmi Vritti itself is destroyed. Very important. Aham Brahmasmi Vritti, having done the job of destroying your ignorance, that Aham Brahmasmi Vritti is also automatically destroyed. And he gives an example. Jalam Kataka Renuvat. So Kataka is I don't know if you guys, all of you are very modern, right? But the older people may remember that there was a time when if you wanted to purify muddy water, you would put some powder in it, the powder of a nut. That powder would take along all the dirt and sink to the bottom. And then you just drain out the water from the top and you had reasonably pure drinking water. So that powder, Renu means powder. Kataka Renuvat. Kataka Renu, the powder of a nut called Kataka. So Jalam Kataka Renuvat. Just like, the example is just like the powder of the Kataka nut, the Kataka Renu, just like that powder takes the impurity in the water and falls to the bottom, disappears into the water, disappears to the bottom of the water after purifying the water. Taking the impurity means purifying the water because the impurity is removed from the water. All that settles down at the bottom of the vessel and you just drain out the top portion and you get pure water. In the same way, he's saying this Jnana Vritti, which is Aham Brahmasmi Vritti, Aham Atma Vritti, it does the job of cleaning the Ajnanam, and having done that, that also is removed. Okay, why does he say this? See, so we have said that Jnana Vritti destroys Ajnanam, knowledge. What does that imply? All Dvaitam, all dualities are removed. And what remains is only Sarvatra Brahma Darshanam. Brahma Darshanam everywhere. There is only Brahman everywhere. So why is this particular verse put here? Because there is a concept called Purva Pakshi. Okay, Pakshi here is not a bird by information. Purva Pakshi is the opponent to Vedanta. And here, this Purva Pakshi refers to Darshanam called Vishishta Advaita. Vishishta Advaita. So here is the objection. He says, you are saying that this Aham Brahmasmi Vritti, it cleans up the Ajnanam, it destroys the Ajnanam. But when you are saying that, there are two things. What are they? Atma and Vrittinyan. Right? Where is the question of Advaitam? Because Atma is there and Vrittinyanam is also there. So Vrittinyanam continues to be because it has cleaned up the knowledge. It has cleaned up the ignorance. Vrittinyanam has removed the ignorance. Ignorance is gone. But the Atma remains and Vrittinyanam remains. How can you say there is Advaita? And this is Vrittinyanam has to be removed. What has to be brought in? What was brought in to remove ignorance? Jnanam. And if Vrittinyanam has to be removed, what should be brought in? This is the argument of the Purvapakshi. Okay. So if for removing Ajnanam, I have to bring in Jnanam, to remove this Jnanam of Vritti Jnanam, what should I bring in?
Nothing.
No, but then you are not answering the objection. The objection says that Atma is there and Vritti Jnanam is there. There is no Advaitam at all because there are two things. Atma is there and Vritti Jnanam is there. How will you answer
Brahman. We have to bring Brahman.
No.
You remove the object.
It is automatically destroyed, you said. That is.
So the Purvapakshi is saying that you brought in Vritti Jnanam to remove Ajnanam. Earlier there was Atma and there was Ajnanam, so duality was there. Now there is Atma and there is Jnanam, so duality is still there. So you bring in Vritti Jnanam to remove the Jnanam. Then what will happen? Again, the moment Ajnanam comes in, what will happen? Again, duality comes in, Dvaitam comes in. And to remove that duality, you have to bring in Vritti Jnanam again. So it becomes an endless cycle. It becomes a cycle, it becomes a complete cycle. You bring in Vritti Jnanam to remove Ajnanam, and then you bring in Ajnanam to remove Vritti Jnanam, and the cycle goes on. So there is never a time when there is duality, when there is non-duality. It is always duality. This is the argument made by the Purvapakshi. So Shankara here is answering that. He asks the Purvapakshi, in your darshanam, in your theory, he says, is jnanam permanent or temporary? So in Purvapakshi, in almost all the darshanas, including Vedanta, jnanam is shanikam, they call it, momentary only. So Shankara picks up on that and says that every jnanam is shanikam only, which you yourself admit. And therefore, vritti jnanam having come and removed the ajnanam will go by itself, like any other vritti. So if you look at any vritti which you have, any thought which you have, thoughts are permanent or temporary. All thoughts are temporary. They come and they go. All thoughts come and go all the time. No thought remains permanently in your mind. What will happen if your one thought was permanently in your mind?
Disturbance occurs.
Sorry?
Disturbance occurs.
No.
If one thought is in the mind, then constantly we tend to become the thought. It kind of pervades our system.
Fine. So what we are saying is that, like, if supposing now I'm talking, right? So I talk to you about vritti jnanam. That vritti jnanam thought never goes away. So it is permanent. What will happen?
You cannot have another thought.
No other thought can come in. Therefore, there can be no progress at all. The very nature of thought is impermanent. It comes and it goes. That's what Shankara is saying here. Thoughts will come and go. For example, you went to school, right? In your primary class, you learned that 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. When you learned that equation, and the teacher told you 3 plus 3 is equal to 6, at that time there was vritti jnanam. 3 plus 3 is a 6. That 6 vritti jnanam was there. You knew that you have to add 3 plus 3 and you get 6, right? But now, every time that somebody asks you this question, do you go back to that thought, to that process of thinking 3 plus 3 is equal to 6? No. You know it is 6. So the knowledge has remained. Every time you do not have to recall the vritti. That is what Shankara is saying. That once vritti has done its work, vritti jnanam has done its work, you will find that that vritti jnanam does not remain. And once having gone, then there is no punarjanma for ajnana. So he says, ajnanasya kalusha jivam jnanam vinirmalam karoti. Jnanena, because of jnana abhyasa. What is jnana abhyasa? Constant shravanam, mananam, nididhyasanam for a sufficiently long period of time under a competent teacher. Every word is important. Jnana abhyasa is constant shravanam, mananam, nididhyasanam for a sufficiently long period of time under a competent teacher. Once that has happened, and when we say once ajnanam has gone, if you have gone through this jnana abhyasa, ajnanam will go. Once ajnanam has gone, I know that I am Brahman, right? Once I know with conviction that I am Brahman, I don't have to keep on repeating Aham Brahma Asmi. Right? Today, for example, you know that, let us take Khush, for example. He knows he is Khush Dhingra. He doesn't have to go every day and tell all his friends, I am Khush, I am Khush, I am Khush. Right? He knows he is Khush. His friends know he is Khush. That knowledge doesn't have to be repeated. Similarly, once you know you are Brahman, you don't have to keep telling yourself you are Brahman. You know that you are Brahman. If somebody wakes you up in the middle of the night and says, who are you? You will say, I am June or I am Luena. But once you are Brahman, established, if somebody wakes you up in the middle of the night and asks, who are you? The response will be, I am Brahman. To give a worldly response, you will have to make an effort. You have to say that, if you have to say, I am Natarajan, you have to remember that, oh, I am Brahman, but as far as the world is concerned, I am Natarajan. So let me give the reply that I am Natarajan. You have to make a conscious effort for that. Today, for example, the automatic reply is, I am so and so. And you have to make an effort to remember Vedanta, which tells you, I am Brahman. But when the knowledge is assimilated, it is the other way around. Your instinctive knowledge is, I am Brahman. When you want to interact with the world, you have to make an effort and tell yourself that I am so and so. I'm a man, I'm a girl, I'm a student. That extra effort is there. When that state is reached, that is what he's talking about. And that knowledge goes away, that Vritti Jnanam does not remain. And therefore, the Purvapakshi objection that there is duality is taken care of, because that Vritti Jnanam comes in, removes the Ajnanam, and then goes away, like any other thought. What remains is only Brahman, which is non-dual, completely. Okay, we'll take one more verse and then we can open for questions. Verse number 6. Samsara swapna tulyo hi raga dveshadi sankulaha vakale satyavad bhati prabhode satya asad bhavet. So samsara raga dveshadi sankulaha. Sankulaha means full of. Samsara raga dveshadi sankulaha. The universe is full of raga dvesha. And swapna tulyo hi. It is like a dream. Now, why like a dream? Swakale satyavad bhati. As long as you are dreaming, swakale satyavad bhati. The dream appears to be real. Right? Very important thing. A dream is unreal to you only when you wake up. The dreamer always finds the dream to be very, very real. The dreamer can never say that this is a dream. Only the waker can say that I had a dream. This is what he is saying here. Samsara ragadveshadi sankulaha. The universe is full of ragadvesha. And swapna tulyohi is like a dream. But just like the dream, as long as the universe exists, it appears to be real. Prabodhe satya sad bhave. Prabodhe sati. Prabodhe sati means when I wake up. Asad bhave. It appears to be nitya. It appears to be unreal. So this he's of course talking about the dream. As long as the dream is there, as long as you are dreaming, it appears to be real. But when I wake up, Prabhode sati asad bhave. It turns out to be false. So he is discussing Ajnanam only. How it creates problems for us. So there are two powers of Maya. Vikshepa Shakti and Avarna Shakti. Vikshepa literally means to throw out. And therefore, it throws out the world. It projects the world. The creative power of Maya is a result of which guna?
Rajas guna.
Result of Rajoguna. And then there is Avarna Shakti of Maya also. So the deluding power, the veiling power, it is direct result of Tamoguna. And therefore I, Ishvara, with my Maya Shakti, with the Vikshepa aspect of Maya Shakti, I create this multifold world. I create this universe of plurality. Once having created the world, what happens? Unfortunately, Avarna Shakti takes over. I forget that I am the creator and that the universe is my creation. I forget that I am the Adhishthanam. The universe is the Adhyastham. That I am the substratum and the universe is superimposed. I forget. Because I forget this, what happens? All the limitations of the created universe I superimpose upon myself. This is the Adhyasa. All the creation all the limitations of the created universe I superimpose upon myself. What happens? I, infinite Brahman, have apparently turned into finite Jiva. So here Adhyasa is a very important concept. And here two Adhyasa takes place. Two different Adhyasas take place. Adhyasa means superimposition. One is one is called the Prathamika Abhyasa, the primary Adhyasa. This is what? There is a creation of the universe as a result of my Vikshepa Shakti. Because I am the creator, because I have created the universe, that universe is dependent upon me. And therefore the universe has got limitations because of its dependence. Then there is a Dvitiya Adhyasa. What happens is the limitations of the created universe, I superimpose that onto myself. This is the result of the Avarna Shakti. The first part is Vikshepa Shakti, creation of the second entity called the universe. The second part is the superimposition of all the limitations of that created universe onto myself. I who am what? I am the eternal Brahman. I am very creator. But I take upon myself the limitations of the created universe. This is the result of Avarna Shakti. So this primary Adhyasa, Prathamika Adhyasa, is nothing but Srishti itself, creation. Up to that, there is no problem. But because of the Avarna Shakti, there is a secondary Adhyasa, a secondary superimposition, the veiling or the deluding power of Shakti. And taken together, the Prathamika Adhyasa and Dvitiya Adhyasa, the primary superimposition and the secondary superimposition, taken together, they are called Anyonya Adhyasa. Mutual, Anyonya means mutual or reciprocal. So they are Anyonya Adhyasa, mutual or reciprocal Adhyasa. It's a very important concept. Why reciprocal? Because there is a two-way transference over here, a two-way Adhyasa. What are they? Remember that Anatma Prapancha, the Anatma world, is Savikara, is subject to Vikara. As we learned in Tattva-bodha, Shad Vikara, Asti, Jayate, Vardate, Viparanimate, Apakshiyate, Vinashyati. All this constitutes Shad Vikara. The Shad Vikara constitutes Savikaram, with Vikara status. The Fakir Savikaratvam, abstract down, signifying the status of Savikara, of being subject to change. That is belongs to whom? That belongs to the Anatma Prapancha. But that, all those limitations of Shadvikara, I superimpose upon myself the Atma. Who am I? I am Nirvikara. What do I superimpose upon myself? I am born, I grow old, I die. All this I superimpose upon myself. So this is Adhyasa number 1. The superimposition of the limitation of the Anatma Prapancha onto myself, the Atma. That is Adhyasa number 1. Now let us look at the other part. I am Atman. What am I? I am Satyam. And Anatma Prapancha is Nitya. So having superimposed the limitation of the Anatma Prapancha upon myself, now what I do is the Satyatvam, the Satyam status of Atman, I superimpose upon Anatma. And therefore I take the universe as Satyam. Thus a mutual transfer has taken place. The Mithyatvam of the universe has been transferred to me, and my Satyatvam has been transferred to the universe. The Anyonya Adhyasa is complete. Remember, Vikshepa Shakti creates a second entity in addition to Atma. It doesn't create Anyonya Adhyasa. Anyonya Adhyasa is because of Avarna Shakti alone. So out of these two, which Adhyasa do we have to destroy? primary or secondary?
Secondary.
Secondary is to be destroyed, right? Because primary you cannot destroy. All spiritual sadhana is only taking care of avarana shakti, secondary adhyasa. You don't have to do anything to Vikshepa Shakti because universe is required for your moksha. So we are concerned only with the Avarana Shakti, Tritiya Adhyasa. So by Atma Jnanam, this confusion between Atma and Atma is sorted out. And once this confusion is removed, what do? Now, this saying called give to Caesar what is Caesar's. I do the same thing here. What belongs to Anatma, I give to Anatma. What is that? Limitations. So all the limitations, all the Savikaratvam, I hand it back to Anatma. And what belongs to me, the Satyatvam of the Atma, I keep. So I give Vikara back to Anatma. I take back Satyatvam back from Anatma and own up my Satyatvam. Once this has been done, once the delusion has been sorted out, Avarana Shakti has been vanquished. And therefore, you'll find many teachers talking about the world vanishing for a Jnani. So it comes up in many texts. For the Jnani, there is no world. So what are the questions? What happens if there is no world? Suddenly am I floating in space? Because the world has vanished. Right? Now remember that Atma Jnanam addresses what? Only Avarana Shakti. Vikshepa Shakti continues. And therefore Jagat, the universe, also continues. I, the Atma, of course, continue. So does my body. My body is Anatma. Because I am not destroying Vikshepa Shakti, my body continues. So Atma continues. And so does Anatma. Now here a question can arise which Purva Pakshi will say. You are saying that at moksha there are two things. Atma and Anatma. How then can you say that there is Advaitam? The answer is that Anatma continues, but continues as Nitya. Atma continues, but continues as Satya. So this Anatma world, it continues as Nitya Anatma. And in the Mithya world cannot be counted. Like, for example, take a dream in which you have lots of money in your bank. So in your dream, that money is useful to you. But when you wake up, that money cannot be counted as part of your bank balance. So a Mithya entity cannot be counted. And therefore the Mithya Anatma world is not to be counted because you have already addressed the secondary adhyasa. But the primary adhyasa continues. So since Dvitiya adhyasa has gone, what happens is the universe loses its Satyam status. And therefore it is no longer capable of frightening me. But to understand this, you can take the example of the rope and the snake. In the dim light, the rope, which looks like a snake, it frightens me, right? I perspire, I get heartbeats, thudding, and all those things. But when I point a torch at that rope or the snake, then I see that the rope has lost what? To use the word snekatvam, the snake aspect of the rope has vanished simply by showing the torch of the snake, and therefore it cannot frighten me. But the rope does not go away. The rope is still there. What was the snake? It was essentially the rope only. I had superimposed the snakiness, the snekatvam onto the rope. That having been destroyed by ignorance, the rope doesn't frighten. Similarly, the world, when it is real, when it's considered real, the world is capable of frightening me. But when this world has been negated as mithya, that mithya jagat can no longer frighten. Now look at the word or the verse. Samsara swapna tulyohi. So samsara is defined as samsriyate asmin iti samsara. Samsriyate is to travel. So asmin samsriyate, the place in which I travel, that is called samsara. Where do I travel? From one janma to another janma, from one birth to another birth, but also from a lower loka to a higher loka, from bhuloka to bhuvar loka to suvar loka, all these travels are there. Therefore, it's called samsara. And so he says, what is the nature of the samsara? Swapna tulyodhi. It is like a dream. A dream is mithya. It troubles you when you are in the dream, but it does not trouble you when you are awake. Similarly, this prapancha will trouble you as long as you think it is real, but once recognized as mithya, it loses its power to bother me. And you say raga dveshadi sankulaha. This samsara is filled with raga dvesha, expectations, and these expectations are the cause of misery. Right? What is mithya? So here is defined. Swakale satyavad bhati. This whatever appears real, as long as you're experiencing it, that is mithya. So the crucial word is satyavat, as if real. You know, it is like going and telling a friend, you are as if pretty. Suppose you tell a girl, you are as if pretty, what do you expect? Expect her to smile, you're a slap in your face, right? It means that you are not really pretty. I'm just saying it. Similarly, the samsara is as if. That's why I use the word vat, satyavat. It appears to be real as long as you are experiencing it. Now this dream, another word for the mithya is called anirvachaniya. No? So that anirvachaniya means that which is neither satyam nor asatyam. So that is another twist here. This jagat, you really cannot say it is satyam or asatyam. How do we say? Supposing I say the dream was unreal, it is a false dream. Then I will ask you, why did you scream when the dream tiger came? You screamed, right? But when you are away, when you are awake, the dream tiger is no longer there. So it is neither satyam nor mithya. That particular thing cannot be really put into words. It is not capable of description. That is why it's called maya. Ma, ya. Ya ma iti maya. That which is not what it seems, that is maya. And then he says, prabodhe sati. When you wake up, asad bhave. You realize that the entire thing was a dream. Why? It becomes asat. Why does it become asat? Because what is the definition of sat? Tapabodha again.
Trikale
Trikale tishtati iti sat. If that dream was real, it should be there when you are awake also. But if it's not there, so it's proof that it is gone. And if this world is real, it should be real to you when you have become a jnani also. But it no longer seems real to you. Therefore, that world is mithya. Okay. So with this, we'll stop for today. There must have been some slight disturbance, but it's raining extremely heavily. So thankfully, the ashram has got everything on UPS. So even the light goes, which went several times, as you may have seen. Our Wi-Fi worked. Okay, any questions?
Sir, when we were talking about vritti jnanam, you said that even the thought, every thought is temporary and it goes away.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the thought, I push this body, this mind, this thought is always there. So, like, how would we explain this to us?
So that thought is not always there. It comes and goes. In Sushupti Avastha, that thought is not there.
Okay.
If it was always there in all the Avasthas, then it would be Satyam.
Yeah, right.
That is the very explanation for why that thought is a Mithya, because it is not there in Sushupti Avastha. While Atma is there in all the three Avasthas. Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti, Atma is there. So that is Satyam. But for example, you can take Tattvabodha. What is the waker called?
Vishwa.
Vishwa.
Yeah.
Is Vishwa there when you are dreaming?
No, it's Tejas.
It is Tajasa. So Vishwa has gone away and Tajasa has come. Now, when you are in Sushupti Avastha, Tajasa and Vishwa both have gone away. Prajna has come. right? So all these three are mithya because they are not there permanent. The whole thing boils down to the definition of sat. Trikale tishtati. The moment something has gone, remember Bhagavad Gita, agama payinaha, coming and going. Whatever comes and goes is mithya alone. The sat vastu will never come and go. It will be always there.
Thank you, sir.
Om Acharya ji, I
Om.
have a question
Yes.
regarding verse number 5. It says constant practice of self-knowledge.
Yeah.
Here the term self-knowledge means only this thing, aham brahmasmi. Is that what we have to constantly practice and tell ourselves?
Verse number 5. Which exactly portion are you referring to now?
Uh, uh, this one, Jnanabhyasat.
Jnana abhyasam is Shravanam, Maranam, and Nididhyasana. And once Shravanam, Maranam has been done, then Nididhyasanam is the key. Nididhyasanam is that which removes the vasana that I am jiva. That is what is meant by Jnana abhyasa.
So, but it will start with the vritti, right? That, I am the Brahman. One has to
Yes.
pick that vritti and
Yes.
then work on that. So
Okay.
constantly, when we say constant practice of the same, like being in a meditative state, constantly reminding ourselves that I am Brahmasmi, is that the way the thought will sink in? It's like, I would probably rate it to um, uh, mm, changing the conditioning of the mind from I am the body, mind, intellect to I am the Brahman. So is that what we
it's
have
something
to
like,
move towards?
something like making pickle. What do you do when you make lime pickle? Do you just dip the lime and take it out?
No, we have
Why
to,
don't you do that?
because it'll need other ingredients as well.
No, other ingredients are
Needs
fine.
the flavor.
It needs to soak it and absorb it.
It needs to sit in that pickle for a week or 10 days and soak everything. That is Nididhyasana. Making the pickle, the sauce and all that is the Savanam Maranam. So you can be a jnani without being a Jivan Mukta. If you have not done Nididhyasanam, it has not soaked in. You have got all superficial levels. Which
Right.
means whenever a problem enters your life, you will react as a Jiva, not as Brahman. So
Right.
all reactions come from some subconscious level. And therefore, if you have to get the benefits of the jnanam, the knowledge has to seep into you at a subconscious level, which is what Nididhyasanam does.
So, Om Acharya, in this, once this subconscious thing happens, then what happens to the free will concept of thought?
What free will?
Like
Free will
normally,
belongs to Jiva.
okay.
So
Okay.
that's one of the biggest problems in life. When you say I, are you saying I Ishvara or are you saying I Jiva? As long as you have got I Jiva, you have got free will. As long as you are saying I Ishvara, you are bound by the karma of the rest of the people. Ishvara has no free will. He goes by the law of karma only. It's like the judge. He cannot give whatever judgment he wants. No, it has to be dictated by the law.
Right. Thank
Free
you,
will
Acharya.
is very necessary for a sadhaka. Once you are a, Jivan Mukta, it makes no difference to you because everything is within you then. This particular concept actually is the most difficult one to absorb. You will constantly find this conflict. What about this? What about that? Whenever you come across that, you have to step back and say, I am thinking from which angle? From Brahman angle or from Jiva angle? From Jiva angle, there is always a contradiction.
Sir,
understood.
if a Jivan Mukta, like he already knows that he's Brahman, but the Prarabdha is not over yet. The Prarabdha karma is still playing its role, but the Upadhi drops. Then what is the...
No, I don't understand. When you say Prarabdha karma is playing its role and Upadhi drops means what?
So will we know...
Upadhi can drop only when Prarabdha karma is over.
Okay. Okay. I'm
The glue which holds your body together is your Prarabdha karma. The moment it's over, the Upadhi is no longer needed. It's like a railway ticket, or your flight ticket. You need the ticket only as long as you're in the plane. Once you are off the plane, the ticket is of no use to you.
Okay, sir.
That is the prarabdha karma.
Acharya ji?
Charachi.
Okay, go ahead, Arjun.
Thank you, sorry. So we're talking a lot about Mananam and Shravanam, like listening the knowledge and reflecting on it and study and review the notes. But the concept of assimilating the knowledge, Nididhyasanam, is still very abstract to me. So how do we practice Nididhyasanam, or how to get into it?
There is time. There is time, because you have to first get to the 6th chapter of the Gita, and then you'll begin to understand what is meant by Nidya.
So for now, just
For now,
Shravana
just
Manana.
keep that in mind, that there is a process called Nididhyasana, which I have to do at some stage.
Okay.
So it's necessary for us to do this step by step. That is actually called the unfolding part.
Mhm.
And in really speaking, this Atmabodha class was meant for the Upanishad class. You know, we have an Upanishad class going. That Upanishad class is structured so that there's one Upanishad, one Prakarana Grantha, another Upanishad, another Prakarana Grantha. So the Atmabodha class is aimed at them. So you can see that from the Upanishad class, nobody is asking questions because they understand what is happening. So, you know, you have to wait for
Sir,
that.
I'm not asking because I can't understand. Mine is okay.
That is also there. Okay.
Raviji, I have a question.
Here comes one from the Upanishad class. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So about this Kshanika Vritti, I mean, and that Ajnanam and Atma being duality, and that verse where we're discussing this.
Yeah.
So Shankaracharya's argument about Vritti being Kshanika, I don't know, it didn't fully get to the point, the heart of the matter, which is the duality which the Purva Pakshi was asking. Shouldn't it have been more along the lines of the two orders of reality? And actually, you know, even Gnanam is a different order of reality than Atma. And finally, even when you are in a state of Ajnanam, there's no duality there. You just don't know that it is non-dual.
That's a
Isn't
very
that
good question, Meda, but you are overlooking one very important point. Tell me, what is that? It's an excellent question. Who is Shankara talking to?
the Karma Kanda person, probably?
The Purvapakshi, right? The
Yeah.
Purvapakshi doesn't have a concept of Mithya. You cannot talk to him with Mithya. Your argument is absolutely correct, that from the Vedanta's point of view, that vritti cannot be counted because it is Mithya. That is what you are saying, right?
Yeah, because finally, if that vritti goes, some other vritti will come, because
Yeah, that is Mithya.
Kshanika.
And so it
Yeah.
need not be counted. But Purvapakshi doesn't have the concept of Mithya, and therefore he says that as long as you are saying Aham Brahmasmi, the vritti is there. For Purvapakshi, you have to give an argument saying the vritti is Shanika vritti. I do get your point saying that once Aham Brahmasmi vritti goes away, you'll probably get a vritti saying, I want to eat masala dosa. So
Yeah, and then there's duality.
that is still dual. Yeah, so it's only
As long as we accept that vritti is different from Atma, always there will be
there will
duality.
always be a problem. So this kind of argument is only aimed at the Purvapakshi, because Purvapakshi will accept that, but we will not. We will, as you said, we will say no, but what about this masala dosa vritti after that?
Okay.
But excellent point. Okay, but you remember that when you talk to Purvapakshis, no other darshanam has got the concept of Mithya. Only Vedanta has.
So it's just speaking in their language so that they
You have to
understand.
speak in their language. Yes. Because you can't talk to him about Mithya at all, because he'll say, what is that?
Hmm. Okay, thank you.
But Acharya, in continuation to that, so they may ask the same question when you say one is coming and one is going, I mean the another vritti. So they will ask the next question that yes, this will move away, but another vritti will come. So again, Advaita remains. Dvaitam remains.
So this is a very specific point about Aham Brahmasmi vritti.
Okay.
His point is that Atma and Aham Brahmasmi vritti are two different things.
Yes.
But that can be answered by saying yes, okay. They are two different things. The vritti is not permanent, it goes away. It's a very
Mhm.
specific argument,
Okay.
limited to the point being made.
Okay.
And when you say that you got another vritti coming, lots of vrittis are there, then you have to use the argument, Vedanta argument, saying that okay, this every vritti is only mithya, it cannot really
Yes,
be
yes.
counted. Mithya is not different from satya.
Yes.
That argument has
And
to be used.
And one more thing, in this case, whenever we're talking about Atma, that is, we are meaning Brahman only.
Atma and Brahman are interchangeable
Yeah.
words. Yeah.
So here, that is the.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Atma is only the point of view from the individual's point of view. Brahman from the individual's point of view.
Yes. So I don't know exactly whether I am talking about the previous class which I heard offline and sorry, online, and then today's class. Once you said that everyone has Atma. So is this statement correct?
No.
But either in today's class or in the previous class, I probably have heard, maybe in the different context you said. So I had that question.
So if you should understand it as everyone is Atma.
Yes. Okay.
That's a
Okay.
correct way of understanding.
Okay, Acharya. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? All right. So thank you so much. I hope it's been an interesting class.
Yes.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.